I would like to start with perhaps the most interesting and unique flute of this organ. It is the traverse 2-foot, traverse Zweifuß, which is made of wood. It's a stopped and overblowing stop, which means that the pipes has length of a quint, 3-foot. Quite interesting. Hildebrandt made here also a wooden Spitzflöte, 4-foot. Flöte douce, 4-fuß, which is made of oak, as most of the flutes in this organ. Very thin walls and extremely narrow scale, so it sounds almost like a string register, and it's very soft also. It sounds like this. And there's also a wooden 8-flute stop. Gedaktflöte, or the Flöte douce Gedackt, 8-fuß. It's again oak, quite high cut-ups, very soft. The sound is the following. And if you take all of them, they create a really beautiful ensemble. And there is also a wooden Gedaktflöte on the grate, which is actually quite similar to the one from the Oberwerk, but it's a little bit deeper in its sound. So the difference between them would be something like this. And there is another wooden flute on the pedal, 8-foot, also oak, very thin walls, and it's actually a raw flöte. It's called Hohlflöte, with exceptionally long chimneys. Quite interesting. And now if we go for the metal flutes, there is a family again of Rohrflöten, because somehow this school loved to dispose a lot of chimney flutes in one organ. And they all have a very similar scale, quite narrow, very much like in Sweden, like the Kaman school, for instance. And actually, the Oberwerk also has one. It's called Kurzflöte, and you will again find in Sweden many examples of this stop. And the chimneys of the Kurzflöte are inside the bodies, are in the bodies on the pipes, while the Hoflote has the chimneys outside. So the difference is the following one in the sound. Forefoot. And you even have a 2-foot Rohrflöte on the pedal, which is the Nachtron. If you take it with the 8-foot Hoflöte, it sounds like. You can also have a 16-foot Unterbass often to this, which is like an open Subbas in Löfstabruck, the common organ, and then it creates this kind of effect. But the main 16-foot, actually, on the organ in the pedal is the Subbas Gedackt, Unterbass Gedackt, which is, again, very typical for the Gdansk school. And you will also find this stop in Sweden, curiously enough. It has double mouths, so it's actually a Doppelflöte, quite thick. And it really supports the sound quite well. Now you have also the family of quintadenas, and the 8-foot is just like, I mean, it's what you would expect. Plus 16-foot, plus the Rohrflöte 4. And the interesting thing is that on this organ you can actually combine as many 8-foot stops as you wish. The palettes in the wind chest, and the wind chests are original, are quite wide. So also it's not a light organ. The touch is not really light. It's not, you know, like a harpsichord. No, it's a serious organ. So you can, for instance, have the Hoflöte, take to this the viola da gamba, to this you can take the principal 8, to this you can take the quintadena, and actually theoretically you could also have the Gedachtflöte also taken into this registration. Probably it will not give much because it's just a softer flute in comparison with the Hoflote, but it is, I mean, technically it is possible. So if somebody would think on a North European organ of the early 18th century, it is not possible to have more than 1 or 2 8-foot stops taken at the same time, he should visit this organ and he will change his opinion. And you can also have the 16-foot and perhaps also the trumpet. So an interesting concept, actually. Then the strings have been known in this region since at least 1649, and that was the year in which Georg Nitrowski made his first organ in Gdańsk. He came from southern Poland, and actually he knew stops like salicionals already since his very early times. And we know that the oldest still playable salicional in this country is Olkusz, 1611 and later. And this organ has viola da gamba and salicional. Both stops are of inverted conical pipes, so the upper end is actually wider than the base of the pipe. And the sound is the following one. Maybe let's have the 16-foot Unterbass also in the pedal. With the Traversflöte. And again, you can have it with the Spitzflöte made of wood. You can take also principle 4, so we have 3 4-foot stops at the same time. Let's go to the reeds, because they are quite unique as well. So there is a Vox Humana, which is actually like the late Schnittke Vox Humanas, like in Nauthausen, for instance, but not like the early examples, like Hamburg Jacobi. So this Doppelkegel form, like this and like that. You should probably combine it with some kind of an 8-foot stop, because on its own it sounds like with 2 8-foot flutes. Then Chalmot, which is actually a predecessor of a clarinet. It has a special form of resonators, like a very large 4-foot Vox Humana, and the sound is somewhere between a clarinet, Dulcian, and the Krummhorn. You can have them both. It is possible. And there is a family of trumpets which have resonators made of Weißblech. And Weißblech was a material called in different countries tin plate or fer blanc, which is actually iron covered with tin foil. And this kind of resonators for trumpets were made in the 16th century in the Netherlands by Niehoff, later on by the Van Hagerer family, also in France by Languedoc, in Italy until the late 19th century, also Serassi. Central Germany at the time of Bach, families like Donat and Thyssen, there is almost nothing preserved from that school, and also here. So you need to make them because of some technological reasons out of many parts that you solder together. And the sound is quite bright. The same the pedal trumpet, but this one is actually located on the lower pedal chest, which is hidden behind a wooden panel, so the sound is much softer. And then you have the chimney of the pedal, which is a very narrow scaled trumpet. It looks like a toy almost, exceptionally narrow. The sound is a bit closed, sweet, has something maybe of an oboe in itself, and you can make beautiful things. In Gdańsk they would use it, and this is documented in the choral variations of Daniel Magnus Gronau, for the bass cantus, together with the flute stops 16 and 8. So you take something like, let's say, flute and salitional for the accompaniment, and with that you do things like and actually you could shift this organ very much in direction of the 17th century, because you can take, for instance, the trumpet and chimney, and maybe the mixtures of the pedal also, and octave 4, and you could do a nice double pedal, for instance. this organ is also very versatile in terms of the plenum, because you can have like a very classic plenum, to which you can also have more than one 8-foot, and then it would sound like you can have the 16-foot. But you can also shift it to the Central German or Southern German region by adding the tierce. And the same you can do on the Oberwerk. So you take like principal 8, 4, Kurzflöte 8, octave 2, and the Nasal, which is already like a plenum. The Nasal is a Spitzflöte with very wide mouths. And Hildebrandt thought that sesquialter is actually enough to create the crown of this sound. So this is the only mixture on the Oberwerk, and actually it's very much like this proposal of Mattheson for the plenum of St. Katharinen in Hamburg, where on Doric positive actually he suggested to take the sesquialter instead of the scharf. So, and look what will happen. So we make a comparison of both of them. And the pedal, which is quite imposing. You take the 16, 8, 4 flue stops, principals, of course the Subbas, octave 2, the Rauschquinta, which is the mixture, and it gives you actually already a full sound. To this you can have the great quint, and of course the reeds, and then you have the full pedal sound. And the temperament is perhaps an interesting issue here, since we know that not far from here in Königsberg, Johann Georg Neidhardt, who was the Kapellmeister of the Royal Chapel, published twice in the 20s and in the 30s his sets of temperaments, and they were applied for the first time in 1720 1721 in the Königsberg Cathedral, the great organ of Mosengel. You can read about it in one of the published sermons from the inauguration of that great organ with something like 60 stops. You can read that this organ has the unique temperament that no other organ in the city of Königsberg had, which allows you to play from all of the keys without damaging your ear. And then in the 30s, Mosengel and Kaspari did the same. They used in the castle organ of Königsberg the temperament from the collection, from the printed collection of Neidhardt. This is documented in the contract of this organ. So we also applied this temperament to this organ, and we know that Hildebrandt in 1727, when he wrote a report on the state of the main organ at St. Mary's in Gdańsk, and then this statement was also supported by the Kapellmeister Maximilian Dietrich Freislich. They stated that that organ should also be tuned according to one of the new temperaments. So this is an instrument tuned according to one of the temperaments of Neidhardt, and actually it works quite well. You have seen, you have heard that it's possible to play in many different styles on this organ. So it's quite versatile. Almost everything was played here, and to a great satisfaction of the listeners. As a conclusion, I would just say, feel invited to visit Pasłęk and to try this great organ. And I wish you will have a lot of pleasure with its music. Thank you.